Devil can't hold me back. We gon' set this thing on fire. Lay hands on diseases, yeah, that sickness is gon' die. Jesus interceding at the right hand of the Father. So my spirit refreshed like www. Yeah. The devil is a Mama T, Papa B, Young G, Infinity. Devil can't hold me back. We gon' set this thing on fire. Devil can't hold me back. We gon' set this thing on fire. Devil can't hold me back. We gon' set this thing on fire.
healing power of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
I bind up every sickness.
Come on.
I bind up every pain.
Yes.
I bind up mental distress.
Come on.
I bind up anguish.
Come on.
I cancel it in the name of Jesus. Don't ever compare our prophets to these magicians, enchanters, these sorcerers. No, don't compare them to. They're so far above them. They got power. The devil is a duplicator. He ain't no originator. They can create chaos, but they can't fix nothing.
There are demons that are behind this agenda. Hey. Hey. This is why you need power. The time of ministering without power is over. It is time to walk with the power of God.
I break your assignment in the name of Jesus over the people of God. Right now, I call them free. I release healing in the name of Jesus. $6,000 forgiven, you can get it too.
Mama T, Papa B, Young G, Infinity.
Devil can't hold me back. We gon' set this thing on fire. Devil can't hold me back. We gon' set this thing on fire. Devil can't hold me back. We gon' set this thing on fire. Lay hands on diseases. Yeah, that sickness is gon' die. Jesus interceding at the right hand of the Father. So my spirit refreshed like www. The devil is a lie.
Hello and welcome back to True Story here with Lifeline TNT. We are excited about our podcast because we are talking about relationships this month and how we can advance your relationship, increase your relationship. And today we have the Perrys with us. Yeah. I'm excited about having them. Yes, amen, amen, amen. One thing that I love about you guys is you guys are always very poised, always willing to serve the Lord. I love the fact that I love seeing you up when Revelation worship. Oh my goodness. You just are an angel up there singing. And just to be in the area of worship together and to see you guys, it's almost like a dance. Like when you see ice skaters, like the figure skaters, even when they're not in a relationship, they look like they're in a relationship. You're like, you just want them to be in a relationship. I'm like, I just love the way you do that, what you do. You guys have been a really great example, not only in, even with the bunch of ministry kids, you guys have been leaders, but I love to see you guys doing ministry together. It's beautiful. So we want to welcome you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So let's go back a little bit. How did you get to this point where you guys are actually here? You came and sat under Pablo and began to worship and be in the house of the Lord, but you are from Florida.
Yes.
So, and you're from New York.
No, I'm from Florida.
You're from Florida.
Yeah.
She's from New
I
York.
came from Florida, but I was born in New York.
You were born in New York.
I was born
Okay,
in
so
New York.
so New York to Florida, but you guys met in Florida.
We
Right.
met in Florida.
Okay, so you met in college.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's hear this. How was the meeting?
He says the story differently.
Ah,
Okay.
see, that's why we want the true story.
But-
So let's hear both your stories. I want to hear both your
Go
stories.
ahead.
Let's hear yours, the quick version, and her quick version.
Quick version. I met her at college. I was a basketball player, and she was a cheerleader. And so it was actually towards the end. I met her while I was there. I left early, and so before I left, got her contact information and stuff like that. That was when Facebook was like the big thing. So I would message her on Facebook after I left, and over time we just built something, and that's kind of how it worked.
Really? So let's see. Is that the true story?
It's the
She
short
actually the
ver-
short version.
That's the
so-
short
Ah,
version. So,
listen. We want the true story.
he
What
was a-
happened?
Yeah, he was a basketball. I did track, cheerleading. I did student body president. So I always saw him around, and there were people that I knew that were interested in him. But so he was like, I was like, no, I'm not interested, like because of who he was.
Because he was a basketball player,
Well,
and other girls liked him.
somebody I
And
knew,
so somebody you
liked
knew used to talk to him.
and I was actually talking to somebody that.
That okay, go on. Let's get you. Come on. Like, true story. Come on, true story.
In college, at the time, I was talking to somebody that it was a teammate. Tell her.
Yeah.
Hey,
It was a team.
we've had
But we
all these
weren't-
talks. This is the part of why True Story is so good, because we had these same talks. Literally, like when our kids were talking earlier, they gave you the condensed version. The first time we got into the real true story about cheating and lying and being kicked out, and this person knew this person, they were dating. Like, you should have been in our Love Life group. It was so good because we really were like getting nitty gritty into the real things.
love
So
it.
we need to get to the real story. So let's get the real story. What happened?
So we didn't actually talk in college when it was after he left, but his interest, from the story that I know, was piqued while we were in college, and we weren't really trying to date or anything like that. I was actually talking to somebody who was on the team with him, so I wasn't paying attention to him. And plus, my friend liked him. I was like, oh yeah, no.
Right.
Not at all, no.
Yeah, and I wasn't pursuing her.
Right.
But I did think she was cute.
You recognized
Yeah,
her.
I recognized
Student
her.
body president and cheerleader. She got the track figure and all that good stuff. She cute. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the story of how he recognized me was interesting. We were actually talking about it even last night. It was what he was going somewhere with his friends, with his some of his teammates somewhere, and someone just mentioned the relationship that I had. They're like, we don't think, I don't know, they don't match, and that's what.
Yeah, so the guy, I had another basketball teammate with me, and she came up in conversation, and she was dating one of our friends. So he was like, they're dating, but they don't look like they should be together, because they knew that she was, like Christian, and he wasn't like trying to live Christian, but they knew I was Christian. And so his response was like, well, she kind of looks like somebody that she like would date you. And I
So
was like,
somebody
oh.
planted a seed.
Yeah, and it literally was a seed, because
You really weren't even thinking
I
about it at that
wasn't. I
moment.
was not.
And so he said it, and the
he
words
said it,
planted
and
a
then
seed.
It was there in somewhere in my subconscious. I don't know. And
Isn't that crazy how your subconscious will pick up something?
yeah, and then it was just there.
He was
And then-
prophesying.
Yeah, and it stayed, literally, after he said it, it was dormant. Like the thought was still dormant. Like,
Right.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It didn't do anything. But then, by the time I left the school, it had already been like germinating. That thought that was already germinating.
Like,
And
I
so
wonder.
then it
Like,
was
no,
just
they
like
don't.
a-
Then you start thinking, like, they don't. I can't see them together. I can't see them two together. I
the
can see
funny-
me with her.
The funny thing is, there was a time where I knew everybody in
Right.
Florida, so I always had access to go to clubs, and if I did, we went VIP because I was like, I'm not just gonna go in there and mingle.
Right.
Get me a booth
Let
or
me
something.
sit with the
Yeah, I
sit
don't
with
want to
VIP.
I don't want your sweat on me.
Ah.
But we had access to go to different places, and I remember one night, and this is the first night that him and I actually got a chance to talk one-on-one. The guy that wanted to date me, he wanted to go out, and I was like, I just do not want to go. I don't want to go. I don't care what access we have. I don't want to go. And all my roommates, they wanted to go, and I was like, guys, I just don't want to go. And he didn't want to go. And we ended up, like, we were just talking, like, in the living room lobby area, and we stayed there the whole time, like, sweats on, just talking, just laughing.
So everybody left,
dropped
and then you
him.
guys were just happened to be
We
left
dropped him
behind.
off.
Yeah.
We
It
dropped
was
him
just-
off.
it
It
was
was so
crazy.
weird. It was
So you guys had
random.
conversation.
Yeah, conversation.
Okay.
Okay. It was just conversation.
Just
It was
conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And you were like, oh, I like her. She's cool.
Yeah, and then that event actually happened after the conversation that I had with my teammates.
Right, right.
So it was like after that one, and then this one happened. So it was like encouraging the same thought that my friend gave me.
Right.
And so it was like a kind of a double dose of that thought.
Wow.
And after that, that was when it began to pique my interest.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still nothing like, it was still respectful because
Right.
she was dating someone at the time or interested in someone. So I
Right.
didn't want to, be disrespectful.
Absolutely.
But it was still there.
I was
Like the
innocent.
thought was still there.
So you guys were both Christians in college.
Yes.
Was that hard?
When you're dating other people that may not have the same beliefs. 'Cause my mom always calls and checks on me and is like, Sarah, you know you can't do this or you can't. I'm like, oh, goodness gracious, Mom, not. Like, but it's difficult when I would say it's good. It's okay to be, not drinking or stuff like that, but it's more difficult when you're trying to be in a relationship, unequally yoked. It's
Unequally
just
yoked.
different things, different missions.
Influence.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. I mean, I was a Christian on paper.
Right.
Right. So, but to fully,
You weren't living the
I wasn't
sanctified
fully
lifestyle.
living that, not the lifestyle that I knew reflected my Christian beliefs.
Wow.
So I was there. I was a Christian, and I knew God. I knew about God. I knew about Jesus and those things. But I wasn't living like 100%.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So yeah.
Still dance, still do, different things. And it's so funny because I feel like even in those moments when you do those things, you almost stick out like a sore thumb. Like people would always end up coming to me talking about God. I'm like, I'm just out here living. I'm just out
Right.
here living my life.
You know what? Let me tell you something. So true story. Like when I was in college, I was, let me see, my freshman year, I wasn't saved. I got saved. And I remember like my older kids, their dad, like we were dating in college and we didn't start dating in college. Like I was going into college and we started dating, right? And I remember we ended up like going to church and I felt convicted at church. I was like, we sin. I was like, we're not supposed to be doing this. And he felt the same thing, right? And so we ended up like, then we started hanging out with other Christian couples and everything. So we had a whole like Christian clique of people and we all hung together. And that like really helped us. It was like everybody was young and trying to do the same thing. So like years later when we broke up, I was still like in my master's program.
Right.
And I decide I want to go to the club.
What happened?
Listen, at the door, people were like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Next person, I'm like, oh, I'm just, okay. Like, what are you doing here? I get in there, what are you doing here?
Oh, no.
My guy friends that are all football players like, you got to stay here with us. You can't dance with nobody with us. You just need, I'm like, look, like you got, finally, I was like, I'm going home. Like, I couldn't even enjoy myself because everybody was, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? It's like, God was like, get out of here. And then I tried to go to a party. Oh my goodness. All my ex's friends were there,
no.
and I was there. They all knew I was a Christian. They know I have never been in the club, never been nothing. And they literally had me like in a corner the whole night. I couldn't even do nothing.
Couldn't do anything.
I was like, I'm going home. Then the third time I tried to go, my ex was there.
Oh,
So it was so weird because anything I was trying to do, well, it was my friend's bachelorette party, whatever, and they were like, we're all driving in the limo. And I was like, I'm not going in no limo. I have this thing like, I don't like to go anywhere I can't drive myself home.
right.
Because I already know I'm probably going to leave. I already just know. It wasn't like Uber and Lyft was around. So I was like, I can't, in case I want to leave, I need to drive. And I remember right when I got in, oh my goodness, he seen me and he left because he's like, I can't even see her dancing with nobody else. This is going to be a whole fight up in here. So, and I was like, I ended up leaving because I just couldn't even feel right. And I've been living a different lifestyle in the Lord for so long. But even though I thought I was really saved, I wasn't like really, really sanctified.
Right.
I was saved, but I wasn't sanctified. I wasn't like intimate with the Lord, but I had enough to have conviction.
Right.
But I didn't have enough to like do the right thing. Yeah, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
I didn't have enough to do the right thing. I was just cutting up in so many ways, and I needed so much of Jesus Christ. I didn't even know I needed Jesus Christ. Like, even back then, even when I was married, I remember it was like this thing like, oh, I don't know if it's not really cheating because I'm not having sex with you, and I'm not kissing you, so I'm not cheating.
Different mindset.
But we're having whole long conversations, and I'm meeting up with you in the cafeteria, and I'm talking with you. I'm feeling giddy when I see you, and you got my whole thoughts and everything. Cheating. And a lot of people don't recognize that, like, you don't have to cheat to cheat.
Right.
I ain't got to touch you to cheat.
Right.
I don't have to actually, even, the crazy thing is, to have sex with somebody, I don't even have to have sex with you to have sex with you, because in your mind, the Bible says, if you even think upon a person like that, you've already done it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be over there just texting, and you know you're feeling something. Shut that thing down, like, or I can thinking I could stay friends, or I could do certain things. And I really had this like strange mindset as a young person that that I'm not cheating. But if you can't do it openly, you're cheating. If you can't show it to them, you're cheating.
Right.
If you got to hide it, you're cheating. It's cheating.
Right.
So I was justifying my sin back then, and didn't want to call it cheating. I'm like, no, I'm not cheating.
Right.
Cheating. True story. But when you're kids and you're in college and there's influence and whatever, and you start going through trials and tribulations, you start molding into the person you are. And all those things really pushed me into the Lord Jesus. Like my facade of what Christianity was, my facade of what loving God was, and going to church really was just totally wrecked when God totally came into my life. And it was in those college days.
Mm.
It was in college and between growing up, because they say your brain doesn't really develop till you're 25 anyway.
Mm.
So I hadn't grew up yet, but I was living a grown life, but not living a grown life.
Right.
So when did you guys actually connect? You guys leave college, you're doing Facebook, you guys are doing these things, and you're living, your saved but not so saved lifestyle, and you guys know each other, there's a seed planted. How did you guys really connect then? And what made the decision to kind of
Okay, so
get to this place?
After I left college, she stayed, finished, and I stayed in contact with her, but it was long distance.
Where were you
And
living?
I was living in North Central Florida, which is the Gainesville, Jacksonville area. And
She said the
was-
country.
And she was living in Orlando. So we were, I was driving back and forth, and so
How'd you guys connect though? Facebook, and then what? Y'all what?
Facebook, and then he texted
Yeah,
me one
Facebook,
day.
and then we got. I don't remember the exact details of how we got each other's numbers. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I honestly don't remember. That's a true story. I don't remember. But just we had a long distance relationship, and was kind of filling it out, and with the long distance relationships, what it comes with, and questions, and if this is real, and you can't really measure if it's real or not because it's it's long distance.
He's really bold. I'll say this though, because when he first messaged me on Facebook, it was really a bold message. he told me, he messaged me, it's okay. He's like, I just want you to know, this may seem different, but you're the type of person that I would make a wife. And I read that.
Now that's bold.
So bold. And
That's
I read it.
And that was not my personality.
Mr.
too.
Perry.
I don't know where it came from.
You- it just-
because how you see me, how
Yeah.
everyone see, that's who I am. I'm very conservative. I don't talk a
And
lot.
you were like, that's
But
wife
at
material.
that moment, something changed.
Yeah, it
In
took
that
me
moment.
completely off guard. I was like, what? And I started crying.
Really?
I was like, that's so sweet. I was like, that's so sweet, but I can't. I'm talking to somebody, so no. But that's
What you
how-
crying? What were you crying for then?
I-
Sip tea.
That's a good question. That's a real good question. Actually.
You knew right there that relationship was not gonna work. Just the
like it.
tears is telling you it's not gonna work. Like, man, I
It was-
can't.
no, he
That's
caught
what-
me off guard. I think I was.
How many
even in a
times you read?
state
How many times you read it?
over and over.
See. You read it over and over. She went back like, oh my gosh. She had to go back in there, open it back up. Let me look at that.
No, it was so sweet. It was so sweet, but completely caught off guard with that message because it came out of nowhere, and then that's how we. After a little while after that, we kind of.
That's kind of how we started.
How did the other
Thinking about the
relationships start going downhill?
Oh God, just shut that down.
See, you see?
It was.
This is good.
Shut it down.
Yeah, and so what happened was I had a conference, church conference, the Ames Convention.
Wait. Was the person you were dating, were they saved? This person yet?
In their mind, they were saved.
Wait
yeah,
a
they were saved.
minute. Well, how old were you? You were young.
I was 20. I graduated earlier. I was 20, maybe 20.
Okay.
And, and I don't even want to say this because I hope this
Age
person
is
never
good.
sees it. I hope this person never sees it. But one of the telltale signs is my mom. There was a time where my mom actually met the guy, and he was injured. In his defense, he was 100% injured mom. Okay, that's why he wasn't picking up as many boxes. But my mom's Jamaican.
Oh, come on. Tell the truth.
So my mom pulled me to the side and she's like, Sarah, you will not bring a frame into my house. I was like, what does that mean?
Ooh.
She's like, the frame is there, but the picture's not. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that was in.
Ooh. Okay, so your mom, this is good. This is really good. This is good because this is something, wait a minute. So parents and family, you have to be protected. And this is why girls need dads and cousins and uncles and family because we want you to have the frame and the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And we like to say, you can't see the picture when you're too close to the frame. So you need family to look at the whole picture to even just let you know.
Right.
So even if he's injured, your mom was like, if he's a man, you shouldn't be carrying these boxes.
Yeah, I'm.
If he's a man, he should be opening that door. He should be helping you. He should be driving the car. He should be getting you, coming, seeing you, right?
No
Because
games.
I was
Mom
the,
plays no games.
I think, I don't know if you heard before, but with Trey and Mo, when they first got together, she's like, oh, I'm going to Vegas. I said, what do you mean you're going to Vegas? She said, oh, I'm going to go see him. I said, why are you going to see him?
Right.
I said, why are you going to see him? She said, Mom, it's not that serious. I said, it's not that serious. You shouldn't be going to see him. I had a whole mom moment. And I was like, she's like, no. I said, I need to meet him. Mom, I'm not going to introduce you to somebody that I'm not that serious with. I said, then you don't need to be going to visit somebody you're not that serious with. I'm having a whole mom moment, right? And then she's like, Mom. I was like, when it gets serious, I'll let you. I was like, when it gets serious, you need to go visit him. And then I was like, but she was adult. She's 20, I think she was 22, maybe coming from college. Maybe she's 23, 22, something like that. And so I wasn't going to tell her what to do. She'd been living on her own for 6 years.
Right.
So she was visiting me home. I mean, I'm giving my opinion, but now I can't tell you what to do because you're going to do what you're going to do. So it was so crazy because I was like, FaceTime him. I want to see him. And I guess I was kind of like, so my daughter was, I was like, he's like, oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sending her money and her gas and I'm doing this. He's trying to do the man things. I was like, I was like, why aren't you coming here? He said, oh, yeah, ma'am, I'm in session. I'm in, what's it called? When football players, season. I'm in season and I'm not able to come there right now. And he was like, otherwise, I would definitely be the one coming. I said, okay, I can understand that. Okay. I was like, all right, where's she going to be sleeping? You know, I'm like, how tall are you? Sorry, I had to ask. I'm like, I want to know these things because I'm protecting my daughter, you know? So it's kind of interesting. Your mom is saying, I don't see him picking up boxes. And for a young man and any men that are watching, what you do tells the family and the friends and her how much you value her.
Right.
And from Jamaican culture.
And my grandfather, just to add on, my grandfather, we had a farm. Like, we had acres of land in Jamaica. So you're looking at somebody that walked around with a cutlass with us all day. And a very big man, and he always had a cutlass. We did orange groves. So she's used to seeing a
labor
certain
type of man.
Right. And so
non-lazy.
Physically, he, to her, in her response to me was that he looked the part, but just, she said no. And he did pick up boxes, just for her, not enough.
He didn't pick up enough boxes.
Not enough. She saw me picking up boxes.
You're not doing, she saw you picking up more than him.
Because I just like to get stuff done. It's like, okay, that's there, let me move it.
So you had a diligence and consistency, and he was just a little bit procrastination. He was getting around to it.
Slow.
To your 3, he was carrying 1.
Yes,
This matters. You got to be able to be equally yoked.
Right.
Like, we got to be able to build something together.
Right.
I can't be carrying 5 and you want to carry 1, or you got somebody else to carry and you lazy and you don't want to do it. No, it's not going to work.
Right.
I mean, just it's important.
It's facts.
It is important.
facts.
And if you want somebody slow, you could be slow together, and then you guys could be in delay together. But you really don't want that.
Yeah.
You know, you want somebody that's going to move at the pace that you guys are able to move, so you guys can get things done. And if you're not equally yoked in the area, it is going to cause a problem. Now, then too, there is the time when you're just overly charged, and there's some balance. You got to bring some balance, because like a person like me, I will work all day.
Same.
But sidebar real quickly, like we had a right before our wedding, my husband was like, "No, you've been working so much, you're not allowed to get out of bed today." I was like, "I'm not allowed to get out of bed today." So you have this whole video where everybody came up to my room, and you see me sitting up in my pajamas, and you see all these boxes and all this stuff. You see me pointing, and you see me working on the bed. And so I'm working on the bed, and I'm getting all these things together for all the suits together. I'm labeling stuff. I'm doing everything. So Skylar did this whole reel, and the song was like, work, 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 work. It was like, and you see me doing all this stuff. I was like, I didn't leave the bed. But one thing like with me, if you get me, you're going to get help. If you get me, I'm going to work diligent. I'm going to be consistent. I will put my own hand, my own effort, my own money, my last, and my blood, sweat, and tears into it. And so my dad is the same way. So he's big on the same thing that your mom was looking at. I get that. So after your mom said that, what happened?
She ruined my relationship. No, I'm just kidding. It did make me look at him a little bit different, because now I'm thinking, maybe your toe doesn't hurt that bad. Like, why didn't you do those things? Why didn't you? And it makes you kind of do a comparison on what you want.
Right.
And honestly, God just shut the relationship down by showing me different things that I hadn't opened my eyes to. Mm-hmm. And I will say this, it's so early, I heard someone on your show talk about influence and how important influence is. The opposite happened from him, where the influence that was around him said, I don't think they match. And the person that I was talking to, the influence was kind of like, oh, you guys aren't doing this yet, or y'all aren't doing this yet, oh, that, I don't know, maybe it's not. So the influence actually helped you close the relationship. So people were like, oh, she should be doing this, she should be doing that.
Right.
And so the pressure came to me, and I was like, yeah, I don't think this is it.
This ain't gonna work. Like, we're not, no, and that ain't it, Cletus.
So,
that ain't it.
Influence will pull you one way or the other.
Yeah.
So that's what that was.
So it kind of helped you in that way. They wanted, yeah, I see that. I can see that for sure. So what happened?
So, where were we? Okay, so yeah, and then, so with the long distance relationship, we actually broke up. Mm-hmm. And
wait, but how did you guys get together though? We get rid of him, toe guy.
Right.
And
okay, so yeah, so then we had this conference that was in Central Florida.
Uh-huh.
So I go to Central Florida, and I'm thinking, oh wow, Sarah's here. So let me hit her up and see if we can, hang out. Let's see, grab a bite to eat. So I hit her up, and she was cool to hang out, and so we hung out, asked questions, and it was an unofficial date. so it wasn't like we were like it was an actual date, just hanging out, and so from there after the conference we really started talking,
Yeah.
and then we solidified ourselves as a couple, started dating, and then we broke up because of just she felt like I was. You can explain that part.
Why did we break up this time? No. Was it personality, just differences?
Yeah, differences. Like
I've always been a go. So
Right.
if you heard the things that I was doing in college, I'm like, I'm doing this. We gotta do
Yep.
this, we gotta do this.
Right.
And my dear husband, his mindset is just wherever God will have me to go, that's what I'm gonna do. And I was like, so you didn't ask him where he's gonna take you? At the time, I was like, you don't know where? And I was at the time I was in a marketing business, a multi-level marketing business, and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. This is my focus. I'm like, where are you with this? How do you like it? Do you see yourself doing it? For me, I was so focused. It sounds crazy now, but I was so focused, and I mentally thought, okay, if you're not going in this direction with me, we're not going in this direction. You go the direction.
Are you going to
that
join
you're
my MLM team? Or are you not? You want me
Are we
build
going to do
this?
this together? Are we going to be in the homes
Right.
telling them about the products? What are we? I'm doing it by myself.
Right.
I was really. That was my mindset.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to marriage, I see a lot of my friends. They were always like, "I can't wait to get married," and I'm like, "I will get married, yes, but I will have this and this and this and this, and then I will go into." And God did it a different way. But
Right.
That was my mindset.
Yeah.
My mindset was like, I have to succeed in these areas first.
Yeah.
Right. And so we had two separate mindsets, and it drove us apart.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just looking back at it in retrospect, I think it was just God, just like, no, son, this is the one. Like this is what I'm trying to lead you into.
Right.
And so New Year, what was that? What year? It was a New Year's service back home. I can't remember what
2012? No.
like
I don't know. It was
2013,
like
14. The night after, like it's 12 o'clock, we got finished. Something within me just told me, go to Orlando.
He drove
And I drove to Orlando
2 hours.
and I knocked on her door and I said, we're dating. We are a couple.
We are.
Yeah. So without calling or anything, I just drove down there. And then from there, we just built. And so from
Amen.
2014.
Did you know she could sing the way she could sing?
Yeah, I knew she could sing. I knew she could sing, but we were not like in
Did
ministry.
you know that? Then
So-
did you know he played?
So he actually is self-taught. So
Ah.
I don't think in college you were playing.
No, in
You
college
didn't
I wasn't
play.
playing.
He
Really?
taught
Yeah.
himself how to play years later. And I even remember at the time when we were dating, he had just started to play, and he was asked to play at a ministry, and he's like, I never did this before. So I was like, let's go. We went, and he played at it, and it was an African church.
Yeah,
It was an African church, so it was a prophetic church ministry. So I'm like, God just threw him right in. He was
Wow.
he was like playing a prophetic. He was like,
So yeah,
Can you play by ear?
I played by ear.
Really? So you just was playing and just figured it out as you was
Figured it
going?
in and out.
And they was like,
So when we started dating, I wasn't playing. I knew she could sing, but I wasn't playing. That came later.
wow.
He could sing.
So it took you that long to realize that you could play?
I knew scales. So like my parents, they put us in music lessons, but to actually play songs and stuff, no, I didn't play.
Wow.
I just knew about it. My older brother did.
That's a key point, because like your gift makes room for you. Like even now, your gift makes room for you. And to have a skill, like I always think of like I was an athlete at 6. I was actually at 7. I was actually at 10. I've been an athlete my whole life. So those gifts made room for me. But to discover your gifting later and for it to like overtake you, only God can give you that kind of grace.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
For sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what made you guys move out towards Simi Valley?
Wow. I don't even know how to explain that.
So my old job, we had I had a guy that I knew that was at my old job that was flown up here at another facility, and when he came back, the idea or the thought to move to California just dropped on me.
Right.
Literally, the day he came back, he came to work, and he told me about the experience. And then I was like, what would it be like if we were to like move to California? Never thought about it before. And so that day I called Sarah and I told her, I said, do you want to try to move to California? And she was like, yeah.
Sure.
So we did the paperwork and stuff, and we moved to California. We didn't know about Revelation,
Or life.
Life Church. We didn't know about Mama T. We didn't know about Papa. We didn't know about any of that. We discovered that afterwards.
Really?
After.
So yeah, it was about work, and she, I knew she'd sing, act, dance, and stuff like that. So we tried California. So that's kind of how that story came about.
Really? So how did you get introduced to? You'd been to African churches, so you already were introduced to the prophetic, I'm sure, and deliverance and healing. So did you know, was there a specific type of church you were looking for? You're thinking like that fits your family, that suits you. What were you looking for?
So I would say, so we're both PKs. We came from ministry, but when we came here, we were specifically, especially for me, I was like, I'm taking a break.
How's that break working out for you?
I'm in church every day.
You are
I
on the
said,
big stage. I see you worshiping Revelation. You are getting
here,
it.
Love it. I said, I'm taking a break. We're not doing church right now. Let's just develop us and see how that is. And we really did. We didn't come to church. We didn't go to any other ministries. We were just, we would watch services online.
Right.
And not even any Revelation services or seeing you, Mama T, or
Yeah.
anybody. We didn't see anybody. So we were here, and one day randomly, he comes to me and he says, do you want to go to church this weekend? And at that time, I'm scrolling on YouTube, and I look, and it's a picture of Papa Lo, and he's just there, and I've never seen him ever before.
Right.
And his picture is just there. As he's walking, he says, do you want to go to church? I was like, is it Prophet Lovey's church? He was like, yeah. I was like, that's weird. I was like, sure,
That's
let's
prophetic.
Go.
So
see how
literally-
agreement, how you guys keep
That's
coming into
the
agreement.
Same day, the same
Same
time.
moment. It was
I saw this
weird.
video. Actually, it was happened 2022, I believe.
Yeah.
At the beginning of 2022, I saw a video of Papa Lo, and he's with another guy, and he's talking about like tattoos and like, like I can be a prophet and still have tattoos in my hair and stuff like that, right? So that was then, and then at the end of the year, the like maybe October or so, that was that same night. I said I saw another video, and it was him healing a guy in the overflow, and I was like, babe, I saw this church, and I didn't know it was in Simi Valley, like it's close by. I said, did you want to try this church out? And she was like, is it Prophet Lovey? Like literally, that's all she asked me, and I was like, yeah. Like, it's this guy. And she was like, yeah, him. So that's kind of how we discovered Revelation.
Isn't that amazing how God will like
It was crazy.
send you, and you guys are in
God is
agreement, you guys are in confirmation, and it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And we
So
drove.
how did you end up on the stage?
The true story is, the true story. Like you said, when you came here, you think, because I was in the entertainment industry in Florida. I did business and I did entertainment. So acting, singing, you would think that I would come here and that's what I was going to do. But God didn't have me do any of that, which was, me telling God, like, God, you remember the plans that we talked about that I had? Can we get back to those? He told me no. I knew inside I wasn't
Were you
able to
pregnant
go.
or you just had a baby?
I didn't, at that time, when for that year, I wasn't.
When you guys first
wasn't
when you first started going to church,
to church, I didn't even know I was pregnant.
you didn't know you were pregnant?
I auditioned.
No, this was the whole, it
was a while. And then I auditioned originally for the Christmas play. So I did the Christmas play. I auditioned for the Christmas play, and I auditioned for the worship team. And I didn't even sing on the worship team until a full year. That's like, after I had the baby is when everyone saw me sing on Revelation. But I had made the team a year before. I actually sang with you all while I was pregnant.
You did?
I did.
What?
You don't even remember.
No!
Very
my
pregnant.
goodness,
And
really?
I was actually on the team, but not on the stage. They have training, they have
Wow.
different teams they're working through. And I sang
Revelation.
at Revelation.
Revelation, yeah.
And then I came here, Emerson started playing for you, and then I said, well, I help them sing until we're ready.
Until
And I
they're ready,
sang-
right.
And I sang probably you know, what is it, like a few weeks until I had the baby.
That's so crazy.
I know you have so many people going in,
like it was
working
such a
all the
time, like so many things happen so fast,
Right.
and it's like when God is really leading you, it's just like it flashes, and you're like, that was such a short time, but it was such a building time. It was amazing, and people, and I don't know,
Yeah.
wow.
But to answer how I ended up singing, it was God. Like everything that I do, and I would say it's so hard because coming to California we said yes because it's kind of an obedience situation. If God brought you to it, you're like, yes, I'm going to do it. But every step of the way has been radical obedience, like things that I didn't want to do. I would tell pastors all the time, they're like, would you help us lead the worship team? I'll say, I'll help you until you get a worship leader. God bless you. Praise the Lord. And I really would. I would help them until, and I'm like, have we been looking for someone? Because I'm like, I'm not doing gospel.
You're like, that's not what I want to do.
It was in a dream, and God showed me, this is what I want you to do. And I was like, okay, I'll do it.
You know, I think it was New Year's, and I was looking at you on the stage, and you were just like so glowing, and it was just so beautiful. And it was like, my first thought was, she's a star.
Thank you.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, actually was videoing you. I kept videoing you. I don't know if I sent it to you, but I was like, she is a star. And what a gift to the body. Like, you're very kind, and the women that are around you talk about they're learning how to be a wife by watching you. And they're watching how you reverence and honor and love your husband. This is what you didn't know that got back to me. That they know, this is the one word, she's so patient.
Oh my goodness.
And I love that you create an atmosphere of your own. You don't care what anybody else is doing. You're gonna do your own thing, but it's pulling the hearts of other people, so they're seeing that I need what she has. And you're teaching people how to cook.
Yes, it's so fun.
You're teaching people how to clean. And you're teaching people, and it's great because too, also, you're with your baby, people are learning how to help a baby and help, and so you got a little help. And I think that's so amazing that I believe it's like God will place you a place, and you're doing, what's funny is you're doing ministry. It's ministry.
Yes.
It's complete ministry. And just the leadership, without even trying to lead, you guys are leading. You know, as I remember looking at you, and the Holy Spirit was like, there's a ministerial call upon him. And I saw you preaching, and I saw you with the mic. Now, you didn't tell me you were playing. I think I came over to you like, wait a minute. I almost gave you the mic that day. Like, I know this is what you're doing. And just the loyalty and commitment is so beautiful to see, where you guys are going with the flow of the Spirit of God and allowing him to really mold you. Jesus. How important has it been for you to like surrender your wants to what God wants?
You want to go first?
How important?
What sacrifice has that caused you? Like, is it difficult being away from all the way across the country from your family, from your friends, from what you know, to be in a place that God show you? You feel like Abraham sometime? Like, what is that like? Because a lot of people are shifting, and you feel lonely sometimes? You feel like, you know, because I don't think, it's not like you see it. You know, you said you're real calm, cool, collective, but we don't see you sweat. Right. So I'm asking, where do you sweat?
Yeah, you always, you know, the challenges that you face, you hear the voices trying to pull you back. And you're seeing it a lot now where people are finding their way back to where they came from. They say God called them out here, and then either I miss God or God is leading me back, whatever they say. So it is a challenge when you face a challenge and you know you have a home to go back to.
Safety.
But you know, like, the only way to get to where you're going, and this is kind of my resolve, this is kind of how I deal with it, is that I can't get to where I'm going if I go back home.
Yes.
And when you,
that's so good.
I think a lot of us, we miss it because we allow the voices of pressure to dictate our moves. and we're not solidified in where we're going and who can get you there. Because there are people, like, if you have certain gifts, you can't sit under certain people and expect that gift to flourish. You can't sit under or be under people and expect your ministry to come forth, or for a birthing of your purpose to come forth if you sit under the wrong people. And so my belief is that you and Papa Low, Papa B, the graces that you guys have are for me and for my wife. And so if I leave and abandon this, I'm abandoning where God is trying to take me. So that's the resolve I have. So when I do have pressures of, well, I feel like I don't know, babe. I'm about to pack our bags and get back.
The easier route.
Yeah, it's just like,
it always calls you though.
Right.
You know, I remember when I went through a divorce and my dad called me and he says, I have this 4-bedroom house. It's just me in the house. It had a jacuzzi, swimming pool, basketball court outside, big old yard. And my boys were like maybe 2 and 3, maybe 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. He's like, and I can help you with the kids.
Oh, wow.
It sounded so inviting.
So good. That alone sounds...
Not paying rent sounded inviting. You know what I'm saying? Like, the easy route sounded so good. Even just moving back sounded good. God was like, no. When we realize he's not interested in the easy route, that he's actually trying to perfect those things which concern you, he's actually trying to change your character, he's actually trying to mold you into something else, he's actually trying to show you a different version of you, he's actually trying to get you to a destination, and there's a location you have to get it in. It's not the route that we think it's supposed to go, or the way it doesn't feel or look like it's supposed to look to other people. So I went through, and it was so crazy because I remember one night, I was like, that's it. I was like, oh, there's a name, that church is in Long Beach, And then I was like, well, I'll go to the 10:30 service. Like, they have 3 services, so I'll pick one.
Right.
The man says, I remember I came in, I sat maybe like the 3rd or 4th row in the back. I don't know anybody. Nobody knows me. I'm just sitting there. And the pastor says, God loves somebody in here so much because he changed my whole message.
Wow.
God told me to tell you, no, you can't move back home right now. You can't move back into the state right now. This is not the season for you to move. I was like, and I'm hitting the person next to me like I know them or something. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's talking to me. I knew he was talking to me. And I stayed going to that church for, I don't know, like 2 years maybe. And nobody knew me. Like, I would take the kids to daycare, but like, I would be there all the time. I didn't make friends with anybody. Nobody seemed to get to know me. I didn't get to know anybody else. I had no attachments. The pastor was good, but I knew that was not my church home.
Right.
And right when I connected with Revelation, I knew that was my church home. But back it up real quickly was I had to go through living in my store. And when I was living in the store, I'd be in there praying. I was in there seeking the Lord. I even tried to move back. That didn't work. God didn't allow it. And so while I was praying one day, I see somebody that moved out right across the street from my office, which I had to live in my office with my kids. And I'm looking right across the street. He moved me right across the street. It was like he built these testimonies in a place. It was uncomfortable for me. It would be easier for me to go home, save up money, get a job there, let my parents help with the kids. Easy was not God's way. Easy was not his way. He wanted me to get stretched. He wanted me to get out of myself. He wanted to show me a different version of me. He wanted to mold me into something else. He wanted to introduce me to new people. And I wanted what was comfortable for me. I wanted to be around family and friends. I wanted to feel right. And I wanted to be able to take the easier route. And the easier route was not for me. And I'm actually glad because it made me into something I would not have been.
Right.
Wow.
So I know what that's like. When you're in pain, thinking like, I want to be around family, or not even pain, it's finances, or California is a lot for people to live in and to make money and to figure out my way. And sometimes the best way is for God to remove your crutches and you have to be thrown into something. You get kicked out of the place where you lived. live. You have to. People, their parents died, and there is no more parents anymore because your parents babied you your whole life, and now you don't have the parents you can go back to. You got to go get a job yourself. You have to go provide for yourself. You have to go hustle for yourself. You discover somebody else in there, and God made it so clear you're not going back. So then it's like I had a hard time then in that season with my parents because it was like almost he made it a little bit rough. So I couldn't even go back. I was like, you're destroying all my plans. And I'm like, this is a mess. And I had to deal with things within myself, and I had to find a survivor in me.
Right.
I had to find the relying on the Lord. And that was where he made me in a place that he showed me. He said, go to a place I'll show you. And that's exactly what I felt like. And he had to make and mold my children. He had to make and mold a place for all of us. He had to make and mold and morph me into somebody else. He had to teach me stuff I didn't know. And so I know what that's like. And my God, the best thing about it is at least you guys have each other.
Right.
I was by myself. I was like, oh my goodness. But you guys have each other. And you guys can empathize and support each other. How important has it been for the supporting of one another during this time in this season?
So important because, like you were saying, when you look at going back, it's a false sense of security. You feel
Wait. Say that again. It's a false what?
False sense of security. You
Whoa.
feel as if because it's comfortable, it's familiar, you feel as if you're going to, that's the easiest way. That's the way that I'll have comfort, I'll be successful. But you're making those assumptions not knowing necessarily what God has in store for you. I'm reminded of the scripture. You read it recently, but it's, we make our plans, but God orders our steps.
Yes.
And so I'm a person, I love control. And you asked the question earlier, how has it been to submit to, or just to say your will, God, your way? That has been the struggle for me because God will show me something like do this. And I'm like, I don't want to. I'm going to do it because you said do it, but just know that I don't really want to do it, but I'm doing it.
You're making a huge point right there. I was talking to Skylar this morning about something, and she was just like, but Mom, I don't want to do media. I said, honey, I have done a lot of stuff I don't want to do. You think you want to work at this job? Do you want to work at Amazon? Do you want to do this? You don't do what you want to do. Sometimes you do what you got to do. And it was like, and also, you don't know in your future what you're going to need this skill for. Right. So I remember thinking like, why do I work for a wine company? Mm-hmm. I didn't go to college for this. Mm-hmm. Why am I working for a wine company? But I had 3 kids, and the wine company came, and they offered me, at that time, it was a lot. This is year 2000, so 2001. They offered me $36,000 and a bonus of $5,000, so that puts you up, so I'm making, $40,000 a year for a single mom, and they offered me a car, right, and vacation, and a 501k, and all this stuff, and I was like, yes. Mm-hmm. Feed your kids. Right. What's my motivation? Stability. Right. What is the motivation? Paycheck. But I know it was God. And it also moved me to California, where he told me and he prophesied I was going to be. Mm-hmm. So that was my ticket, was a wine company. A wine company? Then it was like, okay, 2 years here, I can move to pharmaceutical. And that'll put me over in 6 figures. So I had to now do that so I can get to 6 figures. And then my ex-husband, now he owned an international shoe company, and I learned clothing, and I would go out the country, and I learned how to do really great marketing, and I learned how to do camera stuff and what great video editing looked like, which I knew that before because I worked for ABC and the WB affiliate, and I knew how to do those things production, but it was like sharpening skills of what a lookbook, you need this, and you got to do this, and it began to make me, I was around greatness, and I was around corporate America, and I was around organization, I was around structure, I was around at these massive meetings. In Orlando, we'd be in a meeting, and we'd be in a meeting in LA, and we'd be in a meeting all in New York, we'd be in all these things, and people were professionals. Mm-hmm. And God was like, how are you going to be professional? How are you going to run an organization if I never put you in an organization? Right. So you want to be in something, but you never been in it. Wow. You want to be great, but you never been around great people. You want to have the mind of a massive multi-million dollar company, but you never even worked for one?
Right.
I was like, oh, okay.
So good.
And so then here I was I had ran my own business when I had a divorce, and I started my own business, but I had been being prepared the whole time. And I had to run it like a pharmaceutical company. I had to market it like a pharmaceutical company. And now all the skills, so we're now paying my bills. The skills were paying my bills. What I learned was now being put into action. And all that stuff I was complaining about, if I never went through it, I was like, this has nothing to do with my degree. God's like, we'll get back to that later. Like what I'm doing right now, this has to do with my degree. Am I writing the books? That has to do with my degree. Now, having the magazine, that has to do with my degree. Making music and laying music down, that has to do with my degree, because my degree was journalism, multimedia. And so electric media was my thing. Now I do it all the time. Right. But it took me 20 years of doing what God wanted me to do and being uncomfortable and having to be excellent and being challenged and being submitted to people and being able to keep a job and being able to follow directions and able to be on time and being able to be consistent and be able to take criticism from a report when my boss tells me I'm not so good in this area and I need you to improve in this area and not try to throw a whole fit about it, and I have to improve because they're going to be back in 6 months to see how well I worked on it. Right. And if I want to keep this job and feed my family, I better learn it. So it was so great. And then the whole time I'm still preaching, teaching, doing kids, practice, everything. He was making me strong.
That's so true.
You know, he was making me strong. And so I didn't really see that at the time. When I moved here, I was 27, I think, when I moved here by myself, 3 kids. Yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy.
We have one, and we're like, okay, Jesus, send help. No, I'm just kidding. I love him.
See, oh yeah, yeah. He's totally a ministry baby. Your baby's a ministry baby all the way.
He sleeps on ministry time.
Right.
His schedule is our schedule. Everybody's like, he should be in bed. I'm like, nope, he sleeps with us.
He's just fine. He's like got his earplugs, and then you guys got your help. God's giving you a little tribe of help now.
Such a blessing. Such a blessing.
And so in the process here, business has been involving for you too.
Yes.
So how has that been? Discovering what this next season looks like with doing business, ministry, family, and purpose.
So for us, before I came here to California, and to answer both questions, you were talking about just how it's been for us in California. I had business in Florida, and when God moved us here to California, everything just changed completely. And I was like, God, was this you, Lord? Did you do this? What? Everything, because in my mind, again, my business is going great. I was like, this is awesome, Lord. I'm like, yeah, I'll go to California, keep running it. And as soon as we hit land here, I was like, no, Jesus, was that you, Lord? Or were we bamboozled?
Do you feel a lot of people find that, like, is it you? They get in that place, they wonder, like, did I hear right? Is this you?
Yeah, you get that because you have an idea of how it's going to work out.
Right.
And we get married to that thought of it working this way. God sent me there, so then when I get there, everything is supposed to go like...
It will be like this.
It will be like this because God sent me here, so I shouldn't have any hiccups or any, bad days. And then when you get them and you're not prepared for them because you didn't think that it would happen that way, you get like totally blindsided.
Yeah.
And then what do you do then when you're blindsided? And so that's kind of the story of a lot of people who come out here.
It's true. Anywhere you move, I think it feels like that. But in purpose with God, I feel like He's always going to make you feel like that. You're like, is it you, God, or is there another? Is there another, or not? What did Jesus say? Jesus said, "Is there another way?" Like, Lord, can this cup pass?
Let this cup pass me, please.
He's like, no. This is the right cup.
Right. And so for us, that was definitely something, a period of time that we had to go through. For me, I kept asking, like, Emerson, we came out here. Did God say now? Did He say now? Because, it's funny, we actually had a prophecy about coming to California. We didn't even remember until we got here.
Really?
And we were here months later. It was a friend of ours that reminded us. She was like, you remember when the pastor said you guys are going to go to California? I'm like, he said that?
God, look at you guys. God always sending a friend to tell you something.
He So he did say to come here. Okay. So he said it. But for me, business has been great. It's picking back up now, and I'm starting to see how God, because I waited and because I was obedient to what he says, I'm seeing how he's opening up the doors for me in business in a way that he couldn't have done when I was there. Because I had, like I said, I had a lot of crutches, a false sense of security there. Because I had my...
Say that again. Crutches can be a what?
False sense of security. I had my
False
DNI.
sense of security.
I had my groups. I had my networks. I knew everybody that I needed to know. I was like a little president here. I'm like, I could do this. And when I came here, I knew no one. I knew maybe like a few sprinkled people, and I'm like, this is not it. I'm
going to have to preach on that.
This is not it.
It's true. Like, as soon as I really got saved, God started taking my crutches.
Everything.
And the things that you don't know is a crutch is a crutch.
I didn't know.
Family members. My dad and I used to talk on the phone like 5 times a day. And I was like, hey, what are you doing? All this, that. We just call back and forth and just like, oh, I'm doing this. And I remember right when I really came to the Lord, like all of a sudden God was like, I just didn't have time for it anymore. My dad's like, where are we at? What you doing? I was like,
right.
Oh, let me call you back. And Dad's like, wait, what's going on with you? I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then, friends leave you and people think you're too holy or you're crazy or it doesn't take all that or all those things, or you just shift. I had a road dog. I used to call her my road dog. And I got saved, and she was saved with me for a good 2 months. Then she went off this way, and I went off this way. And the next time she saw me, she was so shocked. She was like, I am blown away. Like, who are you?
Right.
They'll see you again, and they're not gonna recognize you.
Right. And even for myself, I was my own crutch. And I think that's one of the things that God was taking out of me is because I had a dependency on my degrees, on my ability, on my ability to network, on my this and that. And so that was my crutch without me even knowing. So when God moved us here, he stripped me of everything because my business was going well. I had, gotten grants. I was getting this.
So you're saying self-reliance. You weren't relying on God. You were relying on yourself.
But I thought I was relying on God because I would mention God. I was like, yeah, God is so good to me. Look at what God did for me. But deep inside, I was like, God did it for me. But really, I also did it because I have my degrees, and I used to do this, and I used to do that, and I used to do this, and I have this, and look at my resume, and look at where I worked at Rockaware. See that? And I'm like showing people like all the things that I've done, and God's like, I'm gonna strip all that away from you, and when I give it to you, it's gonna be because of me. So everything that happens now in my life, I take no credit. Like,
no credit.
None, because I can't. Because it's really him making moves, like, do this. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. I'm going to do it, but why? Like, I come to this business seminar. I'm like, do I need to go to a business seminar? I've been to business seminars. I come in, and you get a connection there, and you're listening to, Mama T talk about something, and it's like, oh, that makes sense. Like, I'm going to move on that. But you think that you know because you have the experience, and you've done this, and I've done leadership before, and I've done this. And so this has been...
Stripping, did it humble you?
I had to say a prayer to God. I was like, Lord, I don't need to be humble anymore.
Right. I've been there too.
Humble. Whatever you're trying to teach me, I learned, Lord.
I used to be like, I got good credit. Mm-hmm. That was my favorite thing. It was like, oh, I got good credit. I can get this. I can get that. My credit is good. I was like, Lord was like, September 11th happened, and I got laid off of my job, and I had to totally rely on God.
Jesus.
My degree and nothing of those things mattered anymore. Oh, it didn't matter if I was Mrs. Oregon. It didn't matter if I had used to work out for Nike. It didn't matter. Any of my things didn't matter. Marriage started falling apart, and everything fell apart to fall together. And it was so crazy because I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I said, I'm going to go get a loan. And I heard the Spirit of God say, you're not taking a loan. I was like, but my credit, God. I was hyperventilating. I had never been late on a payment for a house. Never. You're going right now, God wants you to be late? No, that's not what I'm saying. For me, my pride was I did it. Like, I know God gave me this job, God gave me this talent, but I can get myself out of this. He said, every time I go to catch you, you jump in the way and you catch yourself, or you save yourself, or you do it yourself. You don't let me be God in your life. Oh, I was broken to hear that. He told me I didn't trust him. And I was like, I do. Because I remember, like, so I got this brand new house, and the mortgage was $1,350 a month. And it was right after I got laid off. Now I'm freaking out, like, I've got to pay my mortgage. I go and ask my dad, can I borrow $1,350? I slept good that night, so good. About 5 o'clock in the morning, not 3, but 5, this prophet named Sister Ann called me from California. Sister Cece, you don't love God the way you say you love God, because you don't trust him to take care of you. Oh my gosh, I felt, you're not really saved for real. Like, you saved, but you're not sanctified and filled if you never felt your stomach drop from a word of correction, and you lost your cookies and you couldn't eat for the next 3 weeks. I was like, oh my God, Lord, I do love you. I do love you. I do love you. He said, you don't trust me to take care of you. You borrowed money. I was like, ah. I said, God, I do love you, and I'm going to let whatever happens that you want to happen. I will trust you. And the right thing, God said, whatever I gave you, you're not going to lose. But then, it was the first time ever my rent wasn't paid that month. The second month it wasn't. He was like, hold on. I was studying to show myself approved. I was memorizing scripture. I was making confessions. I'm not losing anything God gave me. I'm not losing anything God gave me. I'm not losing anything. Everything God gave me, the devil can't take from me. I was like, Lord, you're going to have to do something, though. I'm like, I'm freaking out, but I'm not freaking out. I'm really trying to trust the Lord in this process. And he showed me. One day he told me, and prophetically, he said, go. I was just learning the prophetic really well to hear his voice. Go over here. And he's like, this place is going to give you a job. And he said, go over here. And I went to I had a hair, nails, and tanning salon, but it wasn't producing money. And he said, you're going to tell that lady you have a house available. Because now my new job for California came in the process. So if I never lost and got laid off on my one job, the job that was taking me to California where I was supposed to be would have never manifested. Wow. So since it manifested, I went to an interview that I would have been at work, not going into an interview, and I saw the people that hired me to get me to California. So now I'm just a waiting game, like, I'm going to California, I'm in purpose, I'm gonna be in purpose, but now time is meantime, because I still am not gonna go there for another 4 or 5 months, so I gotta live for the next 4 or 5 months. Right. And God showed me, I will provide for you, I'll be your Jireh, I will be your shepherd. I will be your way maker. I will be your healer. And so I didn't know him like that. I didn't trust him because he never proven him. He probably tried to prove himself to me, but I didn't let him. So now the lady, I saw the lady, I said, God told me to tell you I have a house. She's like, I just told God this morning, I'm not looking for another house. He will have to send it to me.
No.
I said, well, it's $13,000 behind. She gave me $13,000 like 2 days later to give to the people. I didn't lose the house. She ended up moving there as soon as I moved to California. And I had renters now.
Wow.
And he was showing me, I am your provider.
Wow. Amen. That's so good.
So everything he's done now has happened from him. My whole reliance is on him. Right. It didn't make sense.
Right.
And I think it's difficult sometimes for us to make a move with God and then think like it's supposed to be going like this. Prime example, not Benny Hinn, but Reinhard Bonnke. He's just now getting going. Everything's going fine. They built this whole type of dome little thing, not too structured good. And as soon as they built it, a whole tornado comes through there and tears the whole thing up. I tried to put myself in his shoes one day. What did that feel like to know that you believe God for something he told you to do, and the whole thing is gone before you could even get used of it? So he was going to cancel service, but he didn't cancel service. They turned around, and 3 times the amount of people that would have fit in it showed up that day. And they just did it out in the open structure, the open field. And I started looking like, God, every story has this same type of story in it where you got the glory.
Amen.
But it feel like it's going to kill you.
It
In the
feels
process, you're like, what is happening, Jesus?
Right. And I think also too, like, and we was talking about this last night about time, and because God doesn't operate by schedule, our schedule. He doesn't operate by time. He himself doesn't. His plans do, but he doesn't. And so a lot of times we get caught up in thinking, well, I have 3 days to pay this bill. For us, it's 3 days, but for God, it's not 3 days. He doesn't look at it that way. And so God will have a whole nother plan set up for that situation. And we think, well, if I don't do it, I'm gonna lose this. And we look at all of what could go wrong. And we fail to think of how big God is, how extraordinary God is. And God can create 1,000 different scenarios that will bless you from that one instance. And all we can see in that moment is how I'm going to lose. And so I think, especially when you see a lot of people come to California to serve at Revelation, to serve at Spirit Life, and they have a time frame of how things are supposed to work. I don't have a job now, but when I get there, I'm going to find this, and I'm going to find this, and I got this friend I can hang out with, and then you get here, and then nothing works.
I try to tell people, don't move here without a job, a car, and a place to stay. I'm like, please don't.
Oh, yeah. And so it's always that element of, it has to have an element of faith in it. There has to be an element to anything that God does. He's going to retract something in order for you to have faith in it.
In him.
Because in him, in some kind of way, even if all of your ducks are in a row, God will remove something.
It's the truth.
Just so you can have faith, because faith is what pulls him.
Faith without works is dead.
It's in it.
It's
You have to have
impossible to please the Lord without faith.
Right.
And I don't care what level we get to, you got to have faith.
You gotta have
What did your family think about you guys moving?
They're supportive, but there's always a way that they try to, well, you think it's about time? Or, I had to tell my brother, I love him. My brother's, we come from a military family, but he's always like, Sarah, whenever you guys are ready. So that's what he says now. He used to just tell me to just come, but now he's like, whenever you guys are ready, we could do this. We're going to build this. We're going to do this. And I'm like, this sounds real good.
We're going to let you know.
But I said, yeah, but I told him, this is what God says. So if I move outside of what God says, then you're going to be responsible. He was like, no,
never
no.
mind, never mind. We don't want
That's
that.
what he said. He's like, no. I mean, you guys have, whenever God
Wow.
releases you.
This is really good. Since I see the preacher grace on you, I want you to take like 60 seconds and just look in the camera. I want you to minister to someone about having faith during times like this and believing God.
All right. So when you are in trials and tribulations, like I just mentioned, God will always keep something. He won't give you the full measure of what you need. He will always keep something for you to have faith. And that faith is so important because God cannot move without faith. So he creates a scenario where you have to implement your faith or produce your faith or increase in your faith or project your faith. And the moment you project faith, that's when he moves. So a lot of times we get caught up in, well, I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough contacts, or I don't have enough this or enough that. And God is like, yes, I know. I created that. Just for you to have faith, just for you to produce faith, or just for you to give your faith. And when the moment you give your faith, God will meet you where your faith is. And so if you get nothing else, please, 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 do not lose faith. Don't lose hope. And when you don't lose hope and when you don't lose faith, I can promise you and I can guarantee you, God will provide.
You have heard it right here on True Story with Lifeline TNT. This is so excited. I'm so excited to have both of you guys here with us today, because not only have you just ministered to so many who have to go through this process, but you've given them hope, and your story was so encouraging. So I'm excited you've been here today. For all of you who are growing in the things of God, know that the Lord will be directing and guiding your path. Just trust and rely on him. I'm Prophetess Taryn Nicole Tarver Bishop, and we thank God for you. We will see you soon. God bless.
God bless.
Mama T.